Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of voice of radio, though I'm a little bit croaky today, but I still want to talk about Cramorant VMAX, and why Cramorant VMAX could end up being a really good deck. And the good news is it has already gone and won over in Japan, so we can take a nice little look, not just at the deck as a concept, but at a winning version of the deck. Shout out to Talonite X, as often happens, for hooking us up with the list. So, it really is a Cramorant VMAX deck. Now, we've had Cramorant V for a while, and I think we're at the stage now where nobody's really going to argue about Cramorant V being a good Pokemon or not. I think at this stage it's pretty much guaranteed, it's pretty much confirmed, it's pretty much accepted that Cramorant V is a great Pokemon. For a single energy, you do get to search your deck for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. Lovely in an emergency, but do remember you're staying in the active to take a hit. It is not an ideal situation. But then for free energy, as long as you're willing to discard them all, you do 160 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And this has been used to take out Pokemon like Dedenne ever since this released. It's a good card. But now we have the release of Cramorant VMAX. Now I need to give you the same warning here that I did with Delmai's VMAX. And that is this. This is not a cheap or easy to get card. It was only released in that lovely set over in Japan, where you got yourself one of each Sword and Shield pack so far, and 1 out of 4 new VMAXs, though 2 of them were alternate art reprints. Then you had Delmai's, and you had Cramorant. And as it stands, this is the only place to get Cramorant VMAX. And we've not received any kind of word about reprints, etc., and these are not the kind of cards that Japan generally tends to reissue, so this might not end up being a particularly cheap card. You have been warned. But what does it do? Well, for free energy minimum, you flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon, and do 80 damage for each heads that you flip. And eagle-eyed among you might remember, or realise, or notice, or phrase it however you like, that this is the exact same attack as the Blissey that came around in Lost Thunder. Same attack cost, same damage, same flipping nature, same everything. So when you're playing Cramorant, you've basically got 2 options. Either you snipe the bench, or you pile energy on, go a little bit nuts, and just flip coins and hope you go about winning. Sounds like fun to me. Now, we are going to need a way to get all that energy on, especially for Cramorant VMAX's attack. You need a whole bunch of energy, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is where Porygon-Z comes in. Now, I've made no secret of the fact that I am a redonkulous fan of Porygon-Z. Porygon is my second favourite Pokemon after, of course, Mamoswine. Porygon, when we were back in Gen 1, Porygon was my favourite Pokemon, no questions asked. Porygon, I love the idea of a computer Pokemon, although that kind of got taken a bit further by another franchise. And I love the idea that you had to go to the Southern Game Corner and win it, and it was so much fun. So much fun. Well, I want to play a Porygon-Z deck. Hopefully this will be the one I actually get to play. Porygon-Z just lets you attach as much special energy during your turn as you like. So the theory here is very simple. You pile special energy on with Porygon, and you smash with Cramorant VMAX. Nice. Now, there is one other Pokemon that is extremely important to the deck, and it is actually Naganadel and Guzzlord. Now, what we're doing with Naganadel and Guzzlord here is we are trying to, for want of a better phrase, we're trying to cheat. We're trying to cheese the game. We are trying to make sure we don't have to take that many prizes. So what you actually do is, as early as you can, you use Chaotic Order GX. You, for 1 colourless energy, turn all of your prize cards face up. But if this Pokemon has at least 1 Psychic Energy attached to it, and a Darkness Energy attached to it, you take 2 prize cards. So the theory here with this and Porygon-Z is extremely simple. You make sure you get free energy on, one of which will count as a Darkness and one of which will count as a Psychic, and then you start the game taking 2 prizes. Turning your prize cards face up can hurt you occasionally as you give your opponent information about prize cards that they can take advantage of, but that's going to be a fairly rare thing, to be honest with you. It's not going to happen all that often. Mostly it's just going to let you take the perfect prizes when you take a KO, which of course is going to actually match up quite nicely thematically with Cramorant V's Beak Catch, and life is good. Go team! The ability to discard a Pokemon from your hand and heal 60 damage might be relevant occasionally. And, I mean, to be fair, it is actually quite nice for filling your deck, if nothing else. So when you're late in the game and you're worried about your opponent dropping something like a reset stamp, it is nice to be able to just discard Pokemon you're not going to need in the future. That can be pretty big. Free Energy 180 we're just not worried about. It's there for the GX attack, and the plan is simple. As early as you can in the game, you use this GX attack, and then you either snipe the bench or hit for big flippy damage with Cramorant. I absolutely adore this deck. Outside of that, we see a lot of the usual suspects. We've got a Mew from Unbroken Bonds to protect your bench. Stops your Pokemon being hit when they're on the bench. Really nice, of course, to protect your Porygon-Z, which is rather important. We see one Dedenne that lets you discard your hand and draw 6 cards. And we see one copy of Eldegoss, so when you play it from your hand to your bench, lets you just grab a supporter card and put it in your hand, which can be quite nice for using stuff in the future. Isn't that lovely? Now, moving over into energy, this is fairly important because we do need to make sure we've got the requisite energy here. And what we've essentially got is a bunch of stuff. Yes, we are playing triple acceleration energy. We have to play triple acceleration energy. I'm going to give away one of the surprises here. We are playing Memory Capsule. Now, Memory Capsule is that new tool that we saw come around in Vivid Voltage. It lets you use the attacks of your pre-evolutions as long as you've got this attached. So what you're essentially doing here is attaching it to a Cramorant VMAX so that you can then use your Spit Shot attack for just a triple acceleration energy, which is pretty nice. But also, it counts as free energy when you're flipping with Cramorant VMAX, so it's a given. We see 4 copies of Recycle Energy. Again, this has got to be a given in Porygon decks. When they get discarded, they go to your hand, ready to be reattached. No argument here. Couple copies of Capture Energy, which when you attach it, lets you search for a basic Pokemon and bench it. Really nice for getting set up. We see a full 4 copies of Aurora Energy here, which counts as any energy. Really, really nice and important for getting Naganadel and Guzzlord rolling as fast as you possibly can. And then we have 1 copy, I believe, of the Unit Energy that's got Psychic in. And yeah, fine. I know it's awkward. And I'm fully aware that this is rotated out, and I'm fully aware that I just don't care. Because the fact of the matter is, you've got Hiding Darkness Energy, which will work very nicely with Porygon-Z. And you've got Horror Psychic Energy, which will work very nicely with Porygon-Z. And I know they don't work when attached to your Pokemon, they don't get the extra effects like Free Retreat and the extra damage, but they still count as the correct energy, so they work really nicely here. So I don't care about Unit Energy being rotated like at all. Just put Horror Energy in there, done. It's the exact same thing. We're good to go. Now, in terms of the trainer cards here, I've already mentioned Memory Capsule. That's very, very important. And we do see a single copy of Air Balloon here to give you free retreat, and a single copy of Stealthy Hood to protect your Pokemon from abilities. But outside of that, we really are just going for consistency. This is a deck that's got enough tricks with the Pokemon. If you can use Naganadel and Guzzlord's GX attack, and then probably get off 2 attacks with Cramorant or Cramorant VMAX, you've won the game. So, it doesn't really matter about anything other than getting set up. Though I should mention that Glimwood Tangle is a very nice card indeed, because Glimwood Tangle lets you reflip all of your coin flips on your attack, though it is important to note it is all or nothing. You cannot go, well, I hit some but not the rest. I'll just reflip the ones I missed. That ain't how it works, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't how it works. But obviously in a thing like this where you're flipping a lot, pretty gosh darned important. So then we just get the usual suspects. We got 4 copies of Rare Candy. You're playing a Stage 2 deck. You need to get your Rare Candy rolling nice and quickly. We've got Quick Ball to search out your basics. We've got Evolution Incense to search out your evolutions. We've got Pokemon Communication to search out, well, swap a Pokemon in your hand with one in your deck. Get whichever Pokemon you need, quite frankly. That's rather important. We see Marnie here, which shuffled your hand into your, or onto the bottom of your deck as with your opponent. You get 5 cards, they draw 4. Pretty gosh darned important for the whole, getting set up and hurting your opponent. We see Boss's Orders, which is very important for the gusting, bringing up the right Pokemon. Although because you're hitting the bench with Cramorant, you do also have the option here of stranding a Pokemon in the active and then attacking the bench, and that's kind of funny. We see Professor's Research. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. It's fast, it's aggressive, it gets what you need. This can backfire occasionally. You need to be very careful, because obviously you've got special energy, which are very hard to, impossible to recover. And you've also got your rare candy, etc., so you do need to be a little careful. Though this is one of the rare decks where I do think there is a strong justification for actually aiming to use Cramorant V's Beat Catch in the early game. Just remember that if you do use it and your opponent manies you, that will be a very, very, very sad day indeed. There is also Cynthia in the deck. This is by far the worst thing this loses to the rotation. Japan is about to rotate but hasn't quite yet. I don't like the fact that this is gone, obviously, and I'm assuming most of you don't. It's a great card, but we've got other supporters I think will be fine. Extra Marnie, extra Professor's Research. It's a little bit awkward, but it's not the end of the world. We can live without it. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. I love Cramorant VMAX. I love how exclusive it is. I love how cool it is. I love the design of it. But I also think it's a very fun card. And I think it stands a much better chance than Blissey did, especially when you're building in Porygon-Z and Naganadel and Guzzlord. Honestly, this is very high on my list of decks to test, just as soon as we get Cramorant VMAX, though we don't actually have any news about how it's being released outside of Japan. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know your opinions, your ideas. I want to know if you think this is a viable deck or whether you think it's going to be a bit too gimmicky. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, or you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.